The second part. Bobby walked into Mickey's room, followed by Daniel Jr., carrying a tray of assorted small glasses all lined up, a tall, skinny glass plastered with the logo of the Panama City Miracle Mile, a tumbler blessed with Ugga, the Georgia Bulldog mascot, a Smucker's jelly jar, a Holiday Inn and a Howard Johnson's bathroom glass, a Dixie cup, each with varying amounts of dark purplish liquid, thick and brackish, a pinkish pill squashed like someone stepped on a miniature skittle beside each vessel. A little of the dark liquid splashed out of Ugga into a couple of the pills as Daniel Jr. slipped a half step on an opened Archie comic book, catching himself just in time. He placed the tray on the makeshift coffee table. Jughead leaned over, reached in, and Daniel Jr. smacked his hand like a schoolmarm with pursed lips, not even looking at him, not saying a word. Jughead sat back, sliding his hand into his pocket. Mickey, he and Jughead turned and locked eyes. Mickey curious, Jughead embarrassed. Mickey grinned. Jughead, he faked a snarl and giggled like the kid he was. Bobby reached down, grabbed the Ugga tumbler and a pink pill. Daniel Jr. took the Smucker's jelly jar and a pill for himself. Fred reached in, grabbed a pill and the Miracle Mile, tossed back the pill and shot the vial juice, killed the whole thing before Bobby or Daniel Jr. could say anything. Mooley grabbed the Holiday Inn with his pill, while Ricky grabbed the Hojo's in his pink tab. The Dixie cup and the final tab remained on the tray. Bobby handed them to Mickey. Daniel Jr. stood tall, lifting his tumbler as if he were at his own wake, and he said, dropping the tab onto his tongue while looking through his glass at the light bulb, not a bit showing through, he said, "Through the lips, over the tongue. Look out, brain, the mind fuck comes." And then a gulp from the little jelly jar and another, his large Adam's apple bobbing in the light. And Mickey, he held his Dixie cup in one hand, the pink pill in the other, and looked around the room as everyone, as each of them downed their doses one by one, each wanting all the others to see them perform the ritual. Only Mickey remained. They all looked at him, Mickey, they all looked at him. He could feel them looking at him, but he didn't look up. He froze. Looking down at the pill in his palm, the day-glow pinkness glowing like it hovered above Mickey's pale open paw, floating like some ragged sweetheart, it laughed at him, taunted him. Bobby, he sat down next to him on the bed. He said, "Hey, I wouldn't let anything bad happen to you. It's all fun. We're just going to head out to that clearing in the woods and hang out. It would be wild. You're going to love it." Mooley, he sidled over, leaned over, got all serious. He said, "Yeah, cuz, just a little tea and shrooms going to be a trip." And Mickey, he looked at Bobby. He looked down at his hands. He shrugged. He placed the pill on his tongue and he drank from the small paper cup. Bobby slapped him on the back. Mooley, he gave him an obvious wink and a thumbs up. Mickey's stomach jumped and he wiggled and gagged as the awfulness of the taste, God's red flag perhaps, not even the slightest bit disguised by the several packs of Kool-Aid that had been added. This awfulness slid down his throat and dropped in his stomach like an overripe plum dropping onto a sizzling hot patio in July. A drag race of PCP overlaid atop the crazy figure-8 track of psilocybin. Angel dust and the devil's fungus engaged in a lively winner-take-all. It is intestinal pinball, a mosh pit of chemical ingestion, bloody, body absorption, astral convergence, and serendipity. And it's down the stairs in a stampede of clomping beetle boots, wallabies, and keds, a silent raise of eyebrows from Mickey's Uncle Daniel, a truncated from his Aunt Betty, and out the door, Mickey squeezing into the tiny back seat of Daniel Jr.'s bright cherry red 71 Malibu SS. Bobby riding shotgun, yelling out the window at Fred to go ride with Ricky in his little VW Bug. Fred arguing the clown car was full. Bobby leaning through the open window, his arm resting on the door, his chin resting on his arm. He said, Bobby matter-of-factly said, I don't care. You can stay out here and wait for the old man to find you howling at the moon. And the Malibu scratched dirt, spraying pebbles and dust out behind the fishtailing rear end, peppering Fred's backside as he tried to push his way into the back seat with Jughead. Go on wheels. The acceleration pushed Mickey back into the cool comfort of the Naugahyde, through which rippled the guttural rumble of the dual cherry bomb mufflers in the stereo bass and the rear window speakers. He felt like he was sitting in one of those fancy reclining chairs at the mall up in Atlanta. The seat accepted him, gave him a little hug, whispered gibberish into his ear, and tickled him. And Mickey let loose a breath, a burst, a yogic exhalation so deep and sudden that he wondered if maybe he'd been holding his breath his entire life. This whole time, a lungal constipation, now finally expressed by the concavity of his 13-year-old chest. He felt a slight tingling at the tips. At the tips of his fingers, the tips of his nose, the tips of his nose hairs, the tips of his arm hairs. His arm hairs, more than tingling, they stood up and hula-hulaed, wiggling and waving in full teasing slow-mo, like the hippie chicks in that Woodstock movie he'd seen. Then Bobby smiling, Bobby saying, eyes peering out from beneath that protruding lobe of a forehead. He says, hey, I'd never do anything to hurt you. And the seat released Mickey as the Malibu topped out around 80, jumping the train tracks, crossing the road on the way out of town, and he focused. The windshield, a bug-splattered lens onto the movie set of the ultimate car chase. Fuck Bullet, fuck Vanishing Point, fuck two-lane blacktop, fuck these two big old-headed civilians in front of him. This was real fucking gas-burning, rubber-screaming, gear-grinding life. And it came rushing at him. A big red-orange globe bouncing in the air next to and slightly above the big old head on the left, and a loud, hey! Hey, Mickey, ha! Look, he's already in Grenville. Hey, Mickey, take this for Christ's sake. Mickey, he reached up, he grabbed at the floating red glow bud, it bouncing around like a lightning bug not wanting to be captured. Mickey, he pinched at air thick and syrupy. He reached his hand through crystal clear jello. Once, twice, 3 times before grabbing its tail. He put the joint up to his lips, sucked in a warm fluid that coated his asthmatic lungs. He pulled long and slow for what seemed like hours until Bobby reached around and grabbed it out from between his fingers. He said, Bobby said as he was putting it up to his own lips, he said, hey, Mickey, sucking in a deep breath and holding it, and then, Jesus fucking Christ, he sucked down half a joint. The little fucker. Mickey, he smiled. Mickey, he smiled with his lips. He smiled with his insides. His toe bones smiled. His appendix smiled. His tummy had a big old grin on. The viewfinder rotated, spun around curves, tilted up and down little valleys and gullies and over the hill and through the woods, both following and preceding their path. The moon appeared on the left. The moon appeared on the right. Mickey faced forward. Mickey, he faced backward. He was very confused but calm. It all seemed very natural, like it was the way it always was. A few turns and onto a broad dirt road, expansive fields on either side, ghost glowing, moon bathing, until the fields, they ended at the woods, and the dirt road narrowed then, a right turn, a sharp curve around a tremendous oak tree, down a little slope, across the wooden bridge into a small clearing where their road crossed another. They slowed to a stop. Car engines idled and then went silent with the key clicks. The dust settled around them as both sets of headlights faded to black. The silence smothered Mickey's uncomfortable giggle. The two silhouettes in front of Mickey, his cousin Bobby, his cousin Daniel Jr., they turned and looked at each other, two dark profiles, mirror images of the beginning of the Alfred Hitchcock TV show. Bobby, his lips moved. Mickey, he saw Bobby's lips move. They moved, they mouthed some silent sentences. Then, like in some poorly dubbed sci-fi movie, 1, 2, 3 seconds later, he heard, "You know, you suck as an older brother." Spoken with no emotion, received with no emotion, simple stillness until the silhouettes faded behind their headrests.